Catus Maximus here. This time with a review of this Orion Motor Tech extra long double flex ratcheting box wrench set. Impulse buy for around $60 or $65. Some of them had laser etching. These are the ones that had roll stamping, which I thought was going to hold up better. But once I got these are just a mistake. Really tempted just to return them. But to tell you the truth, I'm going to keep them and see how quickly they break. And the Ratchet Mechanism. This was another regret of not properly reading through some of the reviews. And people have been having trouble. I thought these were going to be better ones. And we'll just start right off the bat with what is the worst. As I was noticing on this wrench right here. If we can get it straight, you can see that it is just right there, just bows off like they had some kind of issue when they were roll stamping it. And so I'm going to make a little video about straightening it out. It looks a bit worse when it's in front of you. Now you can see it there. It's just like a straight wrench, and then the end just goes. The other issue with these, I mean, they are roll stamped. I did like that. They are chrome vanadium, but they still are Chinese tools. These are Chinese tools that are better than Chinese tools of yesteryear or a decade ago, but they still have a long way to go. Many of the issues are, one, all of them pretty much the screws are just not centered at all. The buckles are just super thin. Not only is there a tiny amount of material there, it's not very wide. I mean, these are not going to handle break-in bolts. They will snap on you. I mean, I've had pretty good luck with ratcheting box wrenches because I always said, well, is a ratcheting box wrench as strong as a normal box wrench? No. So I wouldn't expect them to take the same kind of loads. And a lot of, not just many viewers and subscribers have let me know that a lot of ratcheting box wrenches are actually pretty darn strong and you can break bolts with them. But not in the case of these, not just on Amazon, but I found on some tool forums, there's a lot of these where either the forks are broken or the heads themselves have actually just split open, or they've had some kind of defect in the ratchet mechanism where it basically just blows out the pawls and the ratchet mechanism just rotates back and forth. These are a permanently installed style. There's no like cross-drilled hole where they would insert a pawl. This is either using a microscopic little lock ring at the top, or they're pushing the pawl aside and dropping this in. The pawl itself is what's keeping this retained. The reason I don't like that so much is because as they wear, you have increasing likelihood of having this fall out. We can even see on this head where it's thicker on this side than it is on this side. So I've checked all these out. You know, this 13 millimeter is probably the worst one as far as being bent. But I would have been better off spending 80 or 90 bucks on some Taiwanese ones, to tell you the truth. But once again, I'll end up keeping them. I mean, they did have some things going for them. It is a 6-piece set, so 8 different sizes of double-ended flex, long pattern, ratcheting box wrenches. We can see that they did at least flute or do flank drive on the drive ends. And they do come in this foam tray, which is insanely undersized for the wrenches. I mean, this is ridiculous. I guess it would be more your opinion, but a foam tray, there we go. I had to really kind of flex it. Never encountered a foam tray that holds tools as well as this particular foam tray. I can tell you that. I actually like keeping these foam trays. I don't use them in my toolbox because it uses an enormous amount of space versus what could be just that amount of space. But there's certainly, these foam things are certainly handy for a variety of projects where you need some kind of high density padding. So I always keep it for that. As far as how long these long patterns are, they are long, but they are not super long. So here we have the Harbor Freight offset double, reversible double spline drive wrenches. This is the 17 by 19, and they do follow the same pattern where they do odds on one set of wrenches and evens on another set of wrenches, which, to tell you the truth, as opposed to like those Genius wrenches which I just reviewed, which are just fine, they just go incrementally. And I can understand, at least for me, I would end up using the 12 by 14 is much more handy because on Japanese vehicles, those are a huge portion, and American vehicles, of the fasteners that you're needing, rather than having to grab one wrench for a 12 and one wrench for a 14. So at least they did that. But the beams are really pretty thin on these too. I should say that right off the bat. So here's our 17 by 19. Here's the icon. As we can see, they're long pattern, but they're not the ultimate length, because obviously this icon is quite a bit longer. I guess the beam is actually a little bit wider on the icon as well. The real impetus to getting these was just simply the fact that they were long handle ratcheting wrenches, not so much for extra torque, but just for extra reach versus so many of my other ones. And yes, I already did have these, but I thought just in a certain situation where this may be too thick, the heads on these, and that was like the one good comment people had said, is all the issues that with these Orion wrenches, the one saving grace is that they have some pretty darn thin heads, which will get into a variety of spaces. And that's kind of the complexity of them, is the fact that this will get into a tight space that you're probably not going to be able to reach with anything else, so you're going to be prompted to try to break the fasteners with them. And from what I can tell online, you're really just going to have a gamble. You're either going to break the fastener or you're going to break one of these wrenches. Definitely even weaker than these icon ones, that's for sure. But they just have so much, they just reek of Chinesium. I mean, you can see here, like, this looks straight, and then you get down this and you're like, what the heck is going on there? That's just classic. These are hand ground. These are hand finished wrenches. And that's just classic overgrind. Somebody just went a little too far. You can see where they over rounded it there. And so right here, it's just neck down, and it looks kind of weird. So I would recommend against buying any of these Chinese ratcheting box wrenches, because you're going to be sorry. That's the easiest way to say it. Let me make the purchasing mistakes. Excuse me. I might as well do one last thing and really see how straight all these are if I stack them all together. It appears that these two are pretty good. The two largest ones, the 13 by 15, there is a bit of a bow right there. So this one actually has a bit of a bend. This one's more overall just curved. We of course have this 13 millimeter, which is one of the worst ones. You can just see that. It just, am I on the right? Yep. Where it just kind of swings on over. Oh, I should also mention where the heck that, this is the 13. My goodness. It came with the chrome already flaking. That's brand new out of the box. So anyway, I'll end this long video about these Orions. I just saw a lot of people had purchased these. Surprisingly enough, there's a lot more good reviews than bad reviews, but to tell you the truth, unless you just absolutely need a wrench like this style and you just don't have anything more than 65 bucks, then I'd say okay. But like, look at this 10 millimeter. Look at the size of the forks on this thing. I mean, they're tiny. They're just super thin, super duper thin. Not even broached quite in the center of the fork either. So this video is basically, you know what you're getting. Chinese tools are better than Chinese tools that they were 10 years ago, but they are still very low quality, extremely low quality control, and low finish accuracy hand tools. And you're way better off just buying a couple of the nicer ones of the specific sizes that you need, rather than a whole Chinese set that's going to end up leaving you out to dry. Anyway, I really appreciate everybody who's been watching and subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. Until next time, Catus Maximus out.